So I'm Karen Ambrose. I'm the Chief Data Officer at the Francis Crick Institute in St Pancras, London. So I would say organic in one word. So I started off, I'm very interested in science anyway in general. So I started off doing my sort of biochemistry undergrad. And then at that time, once I'd finished that, I think bioinformatics was a new sector in terms of science. And I thought, actually, I quite like IT, I quite like computing, that side of things, and that would be a nice way to bring those two things together. So I thought, well, instead of looking for a job, I'll spend a year, do a master's in bioinformatics. And then I went to the Sanger Institute. And there we did, you may have heard of the Human Genome Project. So we were an institute that sequenced a third of that and took a part in that sort of worldwide project. And that was quite informative from the prospect of generating data, the data platforms that we had to put together to process that, looking at the instruments, the science innovation that happened during that time, and actually the development of that data set, which actually was made publicly available to science, that actually sort of informs research now and develops that further. So it's being part of that was really, and being able to pivot in that industry. So going in as a programmer and sort of seeing, okay, I can potentially provide the glue between the data and the programming side, and sort of develop database skills in that area. So you might find this funny, but back in the day, for those who remember, Quincy MD. So it was a program around where there's a pathologist and the investigation, and it kind of sort of lit my interest in science in terms of the application to actually resolve or solve certain questions or issues. Yeah. So it's kind of taking that further into, okay, what do we do in terms of science and how does it resolve certain things, that diseases, or provide solutions at that level, you know, for human good, if you like, from that perspective. So that's the kind of thing that inspires me, because being part of a larger research movement which actually delivers change for the ordinary man, the man at the hospital base, that kind of thing. So I think that's why I kind of got involved in it. And then being able to then leverage technology that we have to actually facilitate and make that even better is it's quite interesting. It's brilliant in that respect. So it was a project, and hopefully this is relevant, but it was a project during COVID. So essentially when COVID happened, our institute, because to enable research to progress, everybody's got to be on site. And during COVID, everybody was locked down. So a lot of that research and that sort of lab work couldn't continue. Well, it was paused for that period. And during that period, our CEO made a decision to actually repurpose the institute to be a COVID testing pipeline for a lot of the nurses and medical staff in the North London Trust area. So that, and we were part of putting together that pipeline. Well, me and a lot of other people within the institute were part of putting together that pipeline to manage the samples, process the data, and provide the results back to the medical workers so they can identify whether they could go into work for the next week or whether they had to take a week off. Because you remember when it was just kind of identifying whether people were infected or not, so that we could reduce the spread, that kind of thing. So it's kind of us, that's probably one of my proudest moments, being part of that group that came together and said, okay, what can we put in place? Who do we need to work with? How do we get this up and running in the shortest possible time that we can kind of contribute to this particular movement that needed to happen? So yeah, it was quite inspirational. Physical research kind of had to pause a little bit, but it was more about looking for other opportunities or things that we could take, other parts of the work that we could take and do online. For us as technologists, that's part of the course, right? But for scientists, it's kind of a step away from what they normally would be used to doing. So they have to think about, okay, what other activities can we do from home that while we're pausing our physical research that we need to do. So I would say continuing data volume, because with science comes instruments, comes the increased data set, and that challenge just continues to increase, because they'll have a new instrument will come online and you'll get a new set of another order of magnitude of data volume that you need to deal with. The data literacy across the groups as well, so making sure that they understand how we manage data and what the issues are that we need to deal with, so that they're thinking about their data management from the start as opposed to the end of a project. So kind of changing that data culture to some degree. And just generally how we, just data in general, I think is my thing at the moment. So.